Not yet.
Yes.
Look,
There we go.
oh, there you are. Look,
You can put the phone down now.
there he
Yes.
is.
Oh,
All right.
Jonathan, hello.
Yes. I just
Nancy?
let you join as a panelist.
See if you can get the large screen.
Oh.
All right. I think we should call the meeting to order. We have some guests as well.
And put it wherever you want.
So, Danny, are you ready
I'm ready.
to take notes? Okay, I'm going to call.
Excuse me, Stan.
Yes.
Who is moderating the meeting tonight? Is it Dimitri from the town of San Anselmo?
What do you
Controlling,
mean moderating?
well, handling the who can speak from the public and all that.
Well, I seem to have that power because I let you and Henry in when you raised your hands. We do have three members of the public who are here. They're not on the screen. They're not as panelists.
Well, I know
So-
that Alexis Feynman's going to join us, our council member.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just not a panelist, so she's not going to appear as one of the panelists. You know what I mean?
I got it.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Okay. Well, she was there. Now she left
There
us.
she
Oh,
is.
there she comes. And we have two call-in. So can I call the meeting to order? Hi, Alexis. 1, 2,
Hi.
3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we have a quorum. Okay, call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of August 19th. Does everybody have a chance to review it?
Yes.
Comments?
I think
Correction.
Chair did a great job. I would propose that we approve the minutes as submitted and make a motion.
Second.
Okay, the motion properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on it before we vote? We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, I think the ayes have it. I don't see Kathy here yet for the treasurer's report.
Did she call in?
No. I'm looking here. No, I don't see her on the list, so.
She's just calling me. Hi, Kathy. Attendee. Are you signed in, or are you yeah, go ahead. We're waiting for you, actually. We were ready for the treasurer's report.
Yeah, I was listening in, but nobody could hear me.
So just, yeah, make sure you log in as a panelist.
I don't know how to do that. I'm on the phone and down in Carmel.
Oh, you are? You want to just,
Just let me in on my phone.
yeah, I think so. Stan, can you let her in when she calls in as an attendee?
I'm seeing her as, is she calling from the 415-246 number?
No, she's on the phone with me.
Okay,
So why don't I hang up and you try calling back in? Can you do
okay.
that? All right. Yeah, bye.
So this is Karen. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. So tell Kathy that I was having the same problem Kathy had. Tell Kathy to hit *6. And if she hits *6, then she's unmuted.
Yeah, the problem is you both joined the meeting as attendees, not as panelists.
Yeah, but now I can hear you and you can hear me, whereas before you couldn't.
Right. Okay, I think,
Sorry, folks. Dimitri here. So I'm going to be moderating instead of Elise. Had some technical difficulties, so I had to run into the office from San Francisco. If anyone else joins, I can promote them to the panelists. So far, I only see the one number, and it's the person that just talked.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Karen. Yeah. Okay, but until Kathy joins, just to keep the meeting moving, I think we'll skip the treasurer's report and get back to it. And we'll move on to the next item of the agenda, which is the update on the town council review of the tree ordinance. And we are to consider a recommendation regarding park and open space trees. Who's taking the lead on this one? Is that your issue,
And if I
Renee?
can just have a quick word here. This is an item that was brought up by Renee to the committee, his recommendation, and we invited Alexis to join us tonight because she's a member of the two-person town council committee that's reviewing the tree ordinance, and she's agreed to kind of fill us in on what they're doing and where the process is and generally what where things stand. Thanks, Alexis.
Can I just give an introduction to this item? This is Renee. We've been dealing with some tree issues in the past, and one of the things that I found out in our research was that the tree ordinance does not actually include any trees in open space or parks in the town of San Anselmo. And so Alexis and I had a conversation about a week ago, I think, where we kind of went over some things that we might want to consider for the tree ordinance. And I brought this up, and I thought, since the town is looking at the tree ordinance again, it would make sense to have the town look at the entire range of trees, whether they're on private property or on public property that is on the town's open space or parks. And I don't know whether that would also include sidewalks, or I think maybe Alexis can fill us in on that, but I wanted to get the committee to consider endorsing the idea of having the town council also include the public trees in the ordinance, which makes, to me, total sense since they are part of the town's management. So I don't know what the stage is of where the ordinance is right now, and I'll let Alexis take it from here and fill us in on where things stand.
Absolutely. Thank you, Renee. So our current tree ordinance protects, or not necessarily protects, but deals with trees that are basically on private property. And then there's actually a separate code section for street trees. So street trees have a certain protections, and then trees on private property have other sort of legal protections or procedures that they're subject to. We had a really challenging appeal last fall, and something that came out of that was the recognition that our tree ordinance was outdated, and so John and I formed a subcommittee. COVID hit, things got forgotten about, and we convened one meeting with Public Works and our town manager, I think, over the summer. And what I've been up to is basically looking at just doing kind of a literature review, looking at what other towns and jurisdictions have on the books. And there's a number of protections that are, I think, pretty common for newer ordinances, and ours is just kind of old and I think a little bit outdated. So for example, we have a heritage tree protection, which protects trees that are over, I think, is it 22 inches in diameter. But what's common now is that actually for native trees, there's more specific diameters or circumferences, sizes at which the protections kick in. So, you know, you might have a bay tree get kicked in at 10 inches or something like that. And there's actually, you know, whole lists that document different species and sort of at what point protections kick in or don't kick in. And that's what the county uses. I think it's what Fairfax uses. I like it because I think that the, you know, a tree is a tree mentality is not accurate, ecologically at least. And so I'm looking to sort of introduce some more specificity there, and specifically protection for native trees. The other piece that we're missing has to do with protections for trees aside from just, you know, pruning and cutting down, but a lot of other places have, you know, protections involved, like for, you know, you can't pour concrete within X feet, or there's some metric for kind of protecting the kinds of activities that you might do around a sensitive tree. And I think that we could certainly look at introducing something like that. And then finally is looking at our fee structure and what is fair and appropriate for our town and its demographics. And some of you may remember Larkspur in 2016 had a heritage tree cut down illegally for someone who was looking to, it was a heritage redwood. He was looking to park his Porsche better in his driveway, and he cut it down, and the fee was like, I think it was over $20,000. That's kind of one extreme. And his stance was, I knew I wouldn't get the permit, so I'd rather just pay the fee and have the parking spot. But I think ours is closer to 500. So just looking at, you know, is our fee structure sort of, you know, is it striking the balance that we need to strike for San Anselmo? So I don't, you know, 20,000 is quite a bit, but we might look at our fee structure. Where we stand now, there hasn't really been any movement as a subcommittee since the summer. I think it would probably be appropriate to convene another meeting, and we can probably do that in the next couple of weeks. And that would probably be with Sean, and then of course Dawn and I would be there, and maybe Dave and you know, potentially others. But I think what I need to do is sort of send a little write-up to the subcommittee, just, you know, with what I've been researching and learning about, and just looking at some of these other ordinances. So that's where it stands. There's not a clear timeline or deadline. So it's good to have some outside accountability, absolutely. And I think it would make sense, you know, if we're looking at trees, to include the open space piece within this, because I think it would just be tidier. So if we're going to do it, it makes sense to do it all at once. And of course, there's no guarantees. Whatever we do would have to come before council. You know, the subcommittee would end up reporting back to council with a series of considerations or recommendations, and would gladly take any and all public comment. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. But I think the next step is just convening another meeting with some, you know, specific kind of case studies to look at for the subcommittee.
Thank you, Alexis. I have a question. Would your subcommittee be receptive or even interested in any input from our committee on the public parks open space component?
I can't speak for the subcommittee, but you know, what's the downside? I personally would be very receptive and appreciative. I don't know if that means like having a meeting where there's people from open space along with the town council subcommittee, or would it be, you know, sending us documents to look over and include? I mean, but yeah, I don't see why not. I think it would be great. Oh, and the other piece that Renee brought up was talking about right now tree permits go through staff, and I think it's, you know, it's essentially one person making a decision about a tree, and other communities have tree commissions, which basically approve or deny permits, and it's a body of people, and apparently Fairfax does that. I don't know too much about you know, how it works for them. But there's definitely something to be said for having a decision about a tree, specifically a heritage tree, you know, be in front of a group of people rather than just one. Because it's, if the decision is to cut it down, it can't be reversed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the point I was making, you know, I really like the Fairfax ordinance, and the way theirs works, and there's probably others, but the way theirs works is they've assigned people from their commissions, the parks, the open space, planning, and of course, I can't remember. I think there's like 5 different commissions that are part of the decision-making process, and then they review and then make recommendations. And so it takes a lot of the stress off the staff as well, because it, you know, it doesn't then come down to decision of, you know, one person on staff to judge this. And so it's
Well, we have the opportunity now, it seems like, if that's something that our committee is interested in pushing forward, to present it to the subcommittee of the council and ask for consideration in the rewrite of the tree ordinance.
Yeah, sure. I think there's, you know, there's that. I think this particular agenda item, I wanted to just get the sense of the committee to see whether they would want, instead of, you know, saying something specific about what we want in the tree ordinance, just to say we would like to have the open space and parks trees included in any new tree ordinance. That's sort of the intent of this, is just to get it on the radar, and, you know, when they move forward, to consider that. How they, you know, do a committee versus some sort of other review process wasn't really part of this agenda item. It was just for informational background. So.
Well, I think it's part of it. I mean, you're saying that you like the process that Fairfax has in other jurisdictions, where it's a panel that does the review rather than just a single staff person.
Yeah.
I think that would have to be put into the ordinance.
I do like it, and that also encompasses trees that are not on open space or parks, which is, you know, more of that would be larger than the agenda item that I was talking about. But you know, we maybe want to talk about that, you know, as when we participate possibly in, you know, if we can get Alexis to consider our input in the future. And I assume this is going to take a while before this whole thing gets, you know, sorted out. We can put in our two cents in on how we'd like to see this, because I think it would make sense to have one of our members to be part of a, you know, committee like that, if that's the way the council subcommittee wants to structure this. So, you know, I certainly am open to that, for sure.
You know,
Nancy, you had your hand up? You're on mute, by the way.
Okay. Thinking about what happened in Fairfax, I also like the idea of having an arborist. And I know that they had Ray Moritz come and make a recommendation, which I agreed with, but the town didn't. But the idea that to spread it out, the experts in open space, the experts on trees and different varieties and health and not health, to make sure that it's really clear when action's taken.
Jonathan?
yeah, so the whole subject of trees and a tree ordinance is quite involved. Previously, the Open Space Committee, I think long before some of the folks here now were members, went to the town and proposed an update. At that time, the town staff just didn't want to go there, so nothing changed. So it's been as it is for many, many years. There's a lot of detail that I don't think we're in any way prepared to get into, you know, having to do with species, size of limbs, exactly what's covered, and as Alexis said, fees. But I think for the purposes for now, what Renee was wanting us to consider, just conceptually including open space trees in the process, I think we could probably at least get a consensus on that for now. I would be for that.
Yeah, no, I think that is just a good idea.
Well, do we need a motion? Or can we just
Yeah, I think we should.
convey to Alexis our consensus on that?
Sorry, there's one person who has his hand up from the public, if you want to hear them out.
Well, if we're ready for the public, yeah. We can get some public comment here at this point, yes. It's
Okay.
Jim, I guess?
Yes, that's correct. Jim, you can now unmute yourself. Jim.
Yeah, hi. And hi, Alexis. Alexis mentioned a November contentious.
Jim, one moment, if you could identify yourself and tell us your address.
Sure, yeah. My name is Jim Vernon. I live at 95 West Hillside. And I was part of an appeal for a tree that was unique in our area, which is on the hillside and part of I guess the Barber Track or the San Rafael Heights area, which is at above 200 feet and visible from downtown. We had a situation where we had a tree on our private road, which is shared by 5 people, which the town thought that it was okay to take down this heritage tree. And then without boring you into the details of it, which I thought was wrong, and the replacement trees, which I think is really important, and Jonathan mentioned this as far as what to replace it with, because we had a 100-plus-year-old heritage oak tree taken down, which was completely healthy, and I have photos to show it that there was no crack, but it was replaced by 3 crepe myrtles and a few strawberry trees, which are considered bushes. So I think if you are going to do anything, you should make the change to have native trees, which are designated as trees to replace any kind of removal. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other comments?
For our committee, do we have any other comments, or are we entertaining a motion?
Clarify. This would be trees that are on open space. We wouldn't be part of the committee in general, or just when an open space tree comes up.
Well, I think what Jonathan and Renee are both talking about is just a general vote of whether or not we want the town's subcommittee, the council subcommittee, to consider open space in the tree ordinance that they are working on. Just really that question.
Yeah, and let me clarify. I want to include parks in this as well. It's like Memorial Park. The trees that are in our, public parks should also be part of
There's a Parks and Rec Commission, though, Renee.
Yeah, but this is just our recommendation. I'm just saying, they can weigh in as well, but, I think it doesn't make any sense to leave out any trees. And so any trees in our public space should, in my opinion, be part of this. And that's what I want to put into the resolution. I mean, there's a gray line between some of these, like, is Storage Ranch open space or is it a park? So that's why I want to try to include parks as a recommendation from our committee. That I'm not trying to step on their turf, which is, it just simply makes sense, in my opinion, to include both parks and open space as a recommendation to the town council.
Danny?
Yeah, I thought I'd just provide, I would generally agree with Renee as far as just, I think at this stage, all we're doing is providing a recommendation to the commission or the committee or the subcommittee. And obviously they'll be considering a range of views and different peoples and commissions. But I think if we believe that parks are something, trees we want to protect as well, it can't hurt to include that in the recommendation today. And it's obviously just, expression of our, whatever belief that that's an important part of the regulations that they eventually agree upon. It goes to the town council and will be heard and so forth. So, I don't know if we need to debate that too much in my mind, unless someone is opposed to that. But I would agree that we should at least recommend that that be included as part of the regulations, and then the committee will, assess that. That's all.
Sounds very close to a motion, Danny.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend that the subcommittee, in considering the regulations for the town, include the regulation of trees both in open space and in the parks in San Anselmo.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to do a voice vote. So, Danny,
Aye.
Renee,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Jonathan,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Peter. You're muted, Peter, by the way. Well, he's muted. Henry?
Aye.
I vote aye. I think the ayes have it. If we can get Peter's vote on record, then it will be complete.
Give us a thumbs up
Peter.
there, Peter. How about a thumbs up, Peter?
Kathy, are you on?
Yeah.
And how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Kathy? And Karen, are you on? Okay. How about Karen? Anyway. Thank you, Alexis. I think that's it on that agenda item. I don't know if Karen is a member of our committee from what I was reading, and she's up for renomination, right?
So what happened was her notice to reapply somehow got mixed up. Her application disappeared. So in the ensuing time, her position on the committee elapsed. But
So
she's
she's
reapplied it again, and Carla has it. And as soon as the town council does the interviews and makes the appointments, that'll all be straightened out.
Good. All right, moving on to the next agenda item, which is our fall newsletter. We are to determine the timeline for production, mailing, and content. So who's taking the lead on this one?
Stan, maybe I will.
Okay.
I've talked to Kate, the designer who's done all of our work previously, and she is available. She can get the newsletter put together, and we talked about lead times. I mentioned that we might want to have it prepared for mailing for the beginning of November. She said she would need a lead time of about 3 weeks, so we'd have to get everything to her by like October 5th. For a 1st of November completion.
So that's like the end of next week, right?
Correct. We're not bound by the 1st of November. Could be whenever we can get it done. But she can do that. And then as far as the content goes, I'll just throw out a couple of topics for a feature for our newsletter for this year. One of them, I can't say whether we can act on it right now or not, but I'll just let you know that most Marin Open Space Trust is in discussions with the owners of the spring lot about the donation of a conservation easement on the spring lot. And that's we're waiting for clarification on whether we can make that public announcement in the newsletter or not. But that could be something that would be interesting and could include some history and various information about that important piece of property up on Bald Hill. The other thought I had was we could do something similar to what Brian had done previously on the history of Faudet Park. We featured a history of Faudet Park. We could maybe do that for Sorich Park. It's kind of an interesting story behind the history and then how it became what it is now, the whole process. So those are a couple ideas I had. I spoke to Brian about authoring such an article and he seemed to be willing to do it. Another question that I included in here for discussion is like, how are we actually going to engineer the mailing with COVID-19 restrictions? We can't all be in the same space as we normally are. You might have to parcel it out and have people do bits on their own at home. It's one idea anyway. So I guess maybe the first thing to...
Hey, Jonathan,
Yes,
can we do it outside somewhere?
I don't see why not.
I mean, we are the open space committee after all. We can do things outside.
We could probably do that safely. But we need the content.
Yeah,
So
the
that-
mailing, I think, is the least of our worries. We can figure that out. Danny?
Yeah, the only thing about that, I agree. I generally think we could do it outside. We can keep our distance. If we want to wear a mask, anybody can do that. And the only thing is, if we're all handling all the different stuff and it's being passed around and kind of, even licking, I can't remember, no, we aren't licking any envelopes. We're just putting the stickers on, just trying to figure that out. But I think we could probably get through that and figure out a reasonable process.
Yeah. But content, that's what we got to figure out now.
So, and the other thing as far as content goes is we had discussed previously using all the raffle prize donations that were donated for the spring benefit in some way in conjunction with the newsletter, either having an online auction or in some way promoting the sale of all those great prizes that we got as part of the fall newsletter.
Any ideas for that from anyone?
It seems like that would be a lot of effort to coordinate that. And I wonder what the payoff would be. Because we're asking people for a donation, end of the year donation, and maybe that's enough.
I think the more diversity of things that you can offer people to donate, the better. So, I mean, I was going to suggest that we also consider, putting something in the newsletter about our calendar that is being worked on as a promotional thing. People can donate and get a calendar, for example.
By all means.
Can we,
This is Kathy. And yeah, there's too many of those prizes that we don't know if the people are still in business. I think, and it requires, going to restaurants. I think it's too early for that.
Brian,
But the calendar, I agree.
one thing I thought of is we might be able to put a short article on the newsletter that says, go to our website and you can, bid on these gifts. I don't know what it would take to set that up.
I think not enough people are going to do it to make it like they would actually get any money from it.
Okay.
Peter, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm thinking that perhaps in the newsletter, we can explain our situation, say, look, we're not going to have an event and a fundraiser and people who attend this session. I think that the logistics of handling and collecting prizes is really complicated. And at best, we can just really give them a sob story that, we're an event, but we would like their donations.
Yeah. Danny?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it's going to be difficult. I don't think you're going to get as much participation. I mean, we usually raise, we sell a fair number of raffle tickets at the spring event, and I think it's in large part due to the appearance of it, people being there, having 100 to 125 people there. I think you're going to have much lower participation. It's not going to be worth it given the logistics. I think the appeal, like Peter said, is a good idea. Just saying we're not doing it, so we appreciate it. We can ask, reach in, with some of the appeal might be a little different this year. We know it's difficult for everybody, but we're trying to, take it, whatever. We appreciate your help in this difficult situation, something like that.
Well, I think Peter brings up a good subject matter for a short article about our canceled spring benefit because of the COVID and the increased demands on the open space because of the COVID. I mean, I think it makes a nice little article.
I was going to suggest, this is Kathy again, that we actually, say that in a time of pandemic that we have actively worked on preserving access and trails to open space that people need more than ever.
Yeah. Well, because one of our articles was always the feature of the preceding spring benefit. So, I mean, that's just kind of what we've always done in this newsletter.
And we also do the appeal for funds. So that could say, during these times, blah, 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 there's even a greater need for your money.
If you got it.
Yeah, but I agree. I think that's a good way to go ahead, approach it versus using the actual prizes. I think that's going to be not worth it.
Right.
Yeah, Jonathan.
This is Kathy.
So back to the lead article conundrum. I don't know if anybody has any preference one or another idea. I can't say that we can. Yes, Kathy?
What about Ball Hill? There's still nothing, huh?
It's premature, yeah. We can't really do it right now. But the spring lot is a possibility. And that's actually quite interesting. If we can get permission from the property owners to publicize this, that could be, I think, a good story about a conservation easement up there.
Yeah, no, including the history of the seminary and the Waterston, and the cave. I mean, that's a nice.
Interesting.
Paul?
It's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
But the proviso is that we can't really do it without the go-ahead from the property owners. Not sure that they want to have this made or put out there in such a public way. So I'm waiting. We're making the inquiries about that now. So as a backup, I had that idea about Sorge Park, which is also a really interesting story. I mean, the fact that it was a working ranch, the whole master plan process we went through, all the volunteer work that's been done, all the plants that have prospered there. There's quite a story, I think. And we have a great writer amongst us who's written multiple histories.
Published author.
Yeah.
As Stan recommended last time, Henry and I are working together on a very short piece about technology in the open space. So that might be something that gets slotted in somewhere if we get that together.
Excellent. So Jonathan, are you going to be the editor on this? So are you going to delegate, like Brian's going to write the lead story on Sorge? If sounds to me like the spring lot is a little iffy. Paul and Henry are writing a story, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Okay. No, I've had for the last umpteen years, I've been, especially since we started working with Kate, I've been the go-between and I guess you could say the editor providing the content for her, kind of being the conduit. So I'm happy to do that this time. I should know within the next, hopefully, few days about the spring lot, whether we have the green light to feature that or not. So if everybody's okay with either or, we'll just do either or. When it comes to writing, actually writing the spring lot piece, I suppose I could tackle it first, go at that, and then hand it over to somebody else who's a better writer, polish it up.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the history of it. I mean, a bit, but I don't know. I certainly don't have enough to write an article about it. Also, I'm out of state now, and I probably wouldn't be able to do it before the end of another week.
So the question of Jonathan then is whose turn is it in the barrel this year to write the pitch piece?
Yeah. See, everybody's really jumping at the opportunity.
Jumping on that one.
Well, we had some pretty good ideas earlier. Some people put it in a little different context in terms of sacrifice we made with the benefit being canceled and all that. Kathy, you're a good writer.
Really?
Nancy put her hand up.
No, but I'm thinking that we know more about storage, and that's a known quantity. And Brian, you probably know more about storage, so maybe go with a sure thing.
No, that's the feature piece. Paul and Henry are writing another piece about technology with open space, and the third article is the pitch piece that we're talking about. And if you volunteer to write it, we'll be grateful for you for another year for you, Nancy.
Maybe I could do person on the trail interview. I can't walk very much right now, but just to interview a couple of people on a trail in the open space and just.
No, the pitch is to the tugging on the heartstrings to ask people for money.
We call it the appeal.
Well, Kathy does that so well.
Okay, we're going to vote. All in favor of Kathy?
Aye.
Everybody who doesn't want to do it, give us a thumbs down.
Okay, fine.
Kathy, do you want to collaborate on that?
Sure, we can. That's fine. Yeah. Sounds good.
Hey, let's do an article about mountain bikes.
So
I'm joking.
Back to the lead article. Do we have any consensus about this? Should we do the spring lot if we get approval from the property owners to publicize, and then do Sorge as a backup?
Yes.
I would say yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So is that enough? The three articles, or do we need another one? Do you think?
I think that's enough. Okay. We'll need photography. So I might be asking people if they have any photographic resources to provide me with some photos. I have a lot of photos to draw on myself.
Yeah, I'll help you with that.
Okay, I think. And when do you need these articles by, Jonathan?
Well, as I said, Kate told me that to have the newsletter in hand for a 1st of November mailing, we would need them by October 5th. I don't think we necessarily have to be beholden to that exact timeline, but I would say, let's do the best we can. Let's get it right on it. And as soon as we get it to her, we'll get into production. She's very prompt.
Okay, and any mailing party will be after our October meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Be in
So
November.
we don't have to set that today.
We don't want this to be too close to November 3rd. We want to mail this out afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, moving back in the agenda. We never got the report.
Yeah, Stan, I just wanted to add to the for the newsletter, I'll have to buy some new tabs. And if you remember, the old ones were made of, I guess, acetate, and they're really stiff and hard to tear apart. But I found I guess, some tabs that are made out of frosted paper, and I guess I'll have to order a bunch of those. So I'll do that.
Okay.
Sound good? So I have the treasurer's report, and then I just have some minor changes to the minutes because I wasn't being, can I do that?
No, we've already voted and approved, Kathy.
But I was there, you wouldn't unmute me. Well, for one thing, it doesn't say I was present at last meeting, and I was.
Okay.
And they spelled my name wrong.
Who wrote the minutes?
Sarah did. Sarah Price.
Okay. Well, maybe we could just add that. I would recommend that we at least add Kathy as present at the meeting.
And my name, it starts with a K and not a C.
Forget that.
Okay, Kathy, I'll provide her with that information.
Okay. Okay, so here's the treasurer's report. $730 in our checking, $69,326 in the savings, $200 in the fund checking, and $219,823 in the fund. So we have $290,079. And we received about 150 in donations.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions on the report?
Actually, I just want to confirm with Kathy that the last one was 290,079.
290,079. Let's see, though, that doesn't quite, well, it doesn't quite add up to, whatever it adds up to, we were rounding up. Okay, so you might have to, well, can you just do the math for me and add it up to whatever that adds up to?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. 93. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Kathy. Hey, when do
You're
we get
welcome.
updates? When do we get updates on the Measure A funds, or is that just kind of a floating number out there?
Well, I can always
Jonathan?
ask Ellen for an update. But we did get a statement from her. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I, made a report about it at some point or another when the town council was deciding on the allocation.
It's still, I mean, last time it was 112,000 is what we had as of June, or what she's projected. Does that sound familiar, Jonathan?
Yeah. Now all that could be changing. This is all based on sales tax. And if COVID-19 affected the amount of revenue, that means the portion we get would be less.
Well, doesn't it continue to increase because we're not spending it?
Well, yeah, but the the fiscal year amount that San Anselmo gets is based on how much sales tax is taken in.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think it'd be a good idea anytime we have a change in the amount that's in the fund that's allocated to open space, that we put something in the minutes about it so we have a record, or at least we can look at it that way. Because is that possible, Kathy?
Oh, it's confusing because she's giving us projected amounts based on the taxes they haven't received yet. Right, Jonathan? Because it's the fiscal analysis.
Correct.
We should just put it in when we actually get the money.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is we don't actually get the money.
No, I think what Brian's saying is when it's allocated to open space, it's not our money, right? It's town's money.
When the town gets the money, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the treasurer's report?
No.
All right. Last item on the agenda is the update on the Eagle Scout projects in our open spaces. Is that Jonathan or Brian?
Well, there's a couple of things that we can report on. Brian has had a meeting with a potential Eagle Scout project sponsor. And then Brian and I both met with Scott Schneider, our Assistant Public Works Director, because his daughter is an Eagle Scout and in need of a qualifying project. So we went out to Swartz Park and came up with a really exciting, I think, project that would really benefit the park. And Scott, are you with us? Do you want to speak about it? I see Scott's on the screen.
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was great to go out there with Jonathan and Brian. And the project that they identified was getting rid of an illegal trail that is causing erosion into the creek. And so it's a trail that if you go up the zigzag trail, is that called the Nyland Trail? Nyberg Trail. If you go up to the top there's a nice little rock outcropping. They had a nice name for it that I'm forgetting at the moment.
Called the Rock Fort.
The Rock Fort. And then there's a way if you're illegally up there on your mountain bike or you're hiking, you can go straight down to the park. And that takes you down and across a creek. And so that's where they want to have it decommissioned. And so the project consists of putting up some split rail fence up at the top and a sign to discourage users from going down, and then covering everything up with coconut matting and try to rehabilitate it and get it to be more natural and remove the trail there. And then signage at the bottom to tell people to go over the other way to the start of the Nyberg Trail and don't just head straight up the hill there.
Well, they're not supposed to go on the Nyberg Trail either.
Well, bikes aren't, right? But hikers can.
Right.
Yeah.
Primarily, it's hikers.
Oh, so you want to close it for everybody?
Has your daughter made her application to the Scouting Council?
Yeah, so she made the application, and the gentleman who's reviews all the applications has reviewed it and had her make a few changes. And so she made those changes. She's submitting it again. And then if he likes those changes, then she has to print out a physical copy and then start taking it around to a bunch of different people to get signed. And once that last guy signs it, then she's ready to start on her project. And then I can have the materials ordered by our corp yard, the split rail fencing, and we'll get some signage made up that matches our new downtown sign program with the kind of really dark gray and black with a deer. And then she can schedule what weekend or weekends that they would work on the project. So I think she's hoping for sometime in October or early November.
Scott, I actually had some split rail fence material left over from the FOD project, and we were gonna, I was talking to Brian about using it at the bottom there's a piece of fence missing at the bottom of that trail. So I could just hand that to you, or to, that way she can just include it as part of the project.
Yeah, that would be great.
I still have I think I'll still hold on to these, but I still have these post hole diggers from the town that we're going to use to put the new no bike signs in. Friday. So
okay, great.
I'll get those back to you guys before she starts. Hopefully we can get the bike signs in pretty soon.
Okay.
Jonathan?
So just to add to what Scott said, I think it's just a great win-win situation for the park and for Scott's daughter. She gets her Eagle Scout qualification taken care of. And this is a problem that's been ongoing. We've tried to deal with it, but this should really do the job. I'm really very positive about the outcome here. So it's a good thing. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Does she have
All
a
right.
name, or do we just call her Scott's daughter?
Yeah.
Her name is Virginia, but she goes by Gina.
Okay.
So I'll let Jonathan and Brian know when she scheduled the work party. And then, you know, she has some very specific social distancing requirements about, you know, how many kids can be there and how they have to wear their masks and work safely with the different tools and things. And so she'll be following all of those protocols. And we're hoping it can be, you know, one long day, but it might be two, depending on how hard it is to dig the holes and set the concrete up and, you know, mix the concrete up and set the poles in there and screw the signs on.
Yeah, sounds like a tremendous project. Is there anything here the committee needs to do to further this, or to, or is it already agreed upon?
I think it's pretty lined out, and if since Jonathan and Brian seem to have the best kind of idea about the project scope, I would love to have them swing by to check in when we're actually doing the project to make sure that we're doing it to their vision.
Jonathan, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just to speak to your question, Stan, because this is and we actually talked about this, it's really just a continuation of the work that we've already done there. There's already been signage and fencing and brushing and multiple efforts to try to stop this unauthorized trail use. So this is really an extension of the work that's already been done. So we didn't really feel like we had to go through a new approval or, you know, some kind of a project review, you might say.
Renee?
Yeah, just had a technical point to make about, you know, we're trying to figure out a way to make these posts for the signs so they can't just pull them out. You know, then the concrete's good, but there's also the fasteners, and we're trying to figure that out. And I'll be talking to Brian and Jonathan about that. I don't know if you have any suggestions, Scott, on, I mean, I've been using ideas from the Marin Watershed District signs. They seem to be pretty well designed, and you can't take the signs off. If you have any, you know, anything that you can recommend to us, that would be good as well, that she's been working on. But, you know, vice versa, it also needs to be taken into account on her side, because, you know, we've had this issue where the mountain bikers are pulling out our signs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Danny?
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry, Renee.
Our Corpyard guys have some sign hardware that they use on metal poles that have these two little holes, and they have a special tool that, so it's not a screw, you know, it doesn't have a hex head or a Phillips or anything like that. And it's just a special two little hole thing that they use. I don't know if that can be modified. I'm assuming you guys are putting in like a 4x4 wooden post. So I don't, but I'm sure they can get some type
We're
of.
talking about maybe putting in some steel posts as well.
Yeah, so our Corpyard crew might be able to have some materials that would be a little more vandal proof.
Great.
Danny, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I did, but actually it really had to do with, you know, virtually the same question, and Renee is posing is what kind of measures can we take to try to keep these things intact, which is never, you know, foolproof, but, you know, at least take some effort there. So that's fine.
Well, what I've seen in some instances kind of is you take a welder and you weld the fasteners so they can't be undone. You literally have to cut them with a cutting tool.
Yeah, I'd like to see you put a welder up there on the rail.
No, you weld the sign onto the post before you bring the post up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have those kinds of signs though.
All right, anything else we need to discuss on this issue? Oh, Jonathan?
Well, phase 2 is Brian has spoken to an Eagle Scout candidate about some possible improvements on Red Hill, so we can address that.
Yeah, I was approached by a guy named Dominic Trimble, and he's looking for a project. He wanted to put another bench and a table on D Hill, and we talked him out of that. So I proposed a table on Red Hill and a couple of benches along the path. And so I went up there with him and his mother and his brother Connor, who also is an Eagle candidate. And they thought they could do it. They weren't too pleased with the distance. They were going to have to carry all the concrete and stuff. But we're going to have to figure out, we're going to have to agree exactly where we want the benches and how we're going to fasten a table up there on the rock on the summit. So it can't be vandalized.
Renee?
We also, I think we have to go through the newly adopted process for contributions to open space for.
Yeah, the ordinance.
So we have to, I think we have to take it to the town council.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question for me is, do we really want benches and a table up there? I think we've had this discussion before, and, we need to make a recommendation as a committee when it's on the agenda to say yay or nay. And then the town council actually has the final sign off on that. So I don't think you can tell them, Brian, that they've got a project that's possible yet.
Okay, so we should propose doing this and vote on it?
You can't do it today. It's not on the agenda.
It is, isn't it?
No, this is just an update on projects today, not a specific project. But remember, we adopted the guidelines for improvements in open space for donations. So we need to, just follow the procedure as it's outlined in that, which is for the Open Space Committee to make a recommendation to the town council.
But we had this discussion a couple of months back on this very question.
Right.
Yeah, and I voiced my opposition to it, for one thing. So I was under the impression that we kind of put that aside as an issue, that we didn't really want to do benches up there or even a table. So I guess maybe if you want to bring it up again, and maybe I'm confused about the issue, but I thought that's where we left it.
Nancy?
It seems to me that we were still talking about what kinds of benches would make sense, and that I don't know if we finalized that.
Peter? You got to unmute, Peter. You got to unmute, Peter. Hit the space bar. Usually if you just push on the space bar.
There you go. Go ahead, Peter.
Nope.
Oh. Sorry, Peter.
Still not hearing you. I thought we agreed the table and benches were a go, and that we'd have to take the town council to design for it.
Yeah, that's my recollection of it, Brian.
Do we have something in the minutes about that?
Danny, you got the minutes?
Yeah, I was just looking at them. So since I wrote down every word, basically I'll read the minutes from our last meeting. How's that? Okay. Or the July meeting. This is July meeting minutes. Yeah. So basically, as BC was contacted by a local Eagle Scout for potentially donating a picnic table that he would build. BC suggested placing a table on the top of the Red Hill property. The members discussed the town's procedure for placing these objects on town property and the required approval by Public Works. BC will follow up with the Eagle Scout and work with Sean Condry. So
I wasn't at the July meeting. I think that's why I'm confused.
I have you there, but I may have been wrong.
Really?
I could be wrong, Renee. I thought I have you in here, but like I said. And look, this is the implication of this minutes are that we thought it was favorable, but there's no vote. I mean, if I were interpreting my writing, but it seems that we're moving ahead on these consideration for, doing that. But in my mind, look, we should probably discuss it if there's some objection, and if there's not, then we can move ahead with it. Or if we need to take a vote. But I think we did. It did seem like it was approved for moving ahead on it in the prior meeting.
Okay.
Jonathan?
My recommendation would be that we get a more specific proposal from the Scout as to exactly what it is they're going to place there. What kind of a table, what kind of benches, exactly where, and then have a discussion once we actually know more specifically what it is we're talking about. I mean,
wouldn't that be
I
more?
think we
up to
agreed
us
that we
where
like
they-
the idea of logs rather than metal benches, for one thing. That was a recommendation.
Isn't that more up to us where they're going to go and what they're going to look like, and then the scouts will kind of go forward with our vision?
Yes, that's the way I left it with him. I said we'd get back to him and tell him where and what we needed. So I wrote to Sean probably 2 weeks ago to see, what the requirements are and if he had any objections and if he could give us some support, because I think we might need some town equipment if we're going to be bolting the thing down to the rock. And he's been out, I believe. Anyway, I haven't heard back from him. So the Scout's been waiting since, July for a go-ahead on this.
Jonathan?
Just I want to add, going back to the procedures that, the policy that we adopted, the council adopted regarding these donations, there's language in there. I don't have it right in front of me, but it speaks to placing new improvements close to trailheads where activity can be monitored. And if we I'm concerned about putting a picnic table on the top of Red Hill, that it could become a possible attractant for some activity that we really don't want to have happen up there. There's no way to monitor it. There's no way to keep an eye on what's what sort of partying, littering, fire starting might happen up there.
That's why I didn't want to put a table at the bottom, because I think that's where the attractant is. That's where the homeless camps have been. And, it's a matter of when you hike up the trail, you either stand up or you sit down on something. So I don't know if it's going to change the amount of attractant up there.
Attractive nuisance is what it's called.
I think people can party with or without a bench.
Yes.
Good point.
So we don't have the right agenda item here to actually vote on this. So what are we going to lose this Eagle Scout, Brian, if we keep stringing them along another month?
I don't know.
Is there anything else he can do for us?
I don't have anything in mind. Does anyone else?
Yeah, I know that there's more stairs that need to be done over there above the Eagle Scout project. That was constructed before. I can't remember what the name of the pathway was that is over in the Brookside neighborhood that goes up from one of the courts up to I just don't remember the name of the roads. This was, whoever's working on the pathways.
Is that the stone court?
Yes.
No.
So there's an Eagle Scout that did the lower section, and there's a upper section that needs to be done as well. It's actually longer, but it'd be a lot of work.
Yeah, Ridge Road, I think.
Yes. So that's one I can think of that, it could be done.
Well, it might be nice because that would be a signed trail, and it might be nice if they do a project that we have this signed trail that we worked on.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see at least 1 or 2 benches along some of the switchbacks on Red Hill Trail. I think that would be a real plus to the trail. And maybe just the benches and not the picnic table would be less of a nuisance, attractive nuisance. Do you
So
think
Brian?
we could give? Mm-hmm.
Brian, are you the one in contact with this scout?
Yes.
You tell me, what do you think? If you talk to him, throw out the option of doing the stairs or?
Yeah, well, he thought that a picnic table alone was too small a project. And so the picnic table and the benches were kind of a way of meeting that requirement. But this flight of steps would probably be a big project. I can propose it to him. Yeah, I agree with Kathy that a couple of benches along that trail for us older folks would be appreciated.
Okay. Anything else we need to talk about? Oh, Danny?
That's right. I was just going to support. I think a few benches, if there's not too many, and if there's tastefully done, like a half log or something like that, is not going to attract too many people and gives people a way to rest. So I think I would support that. And if he wants something more and would like to have the stairs, something else to consider.
Yeah, I think the 2 benches alone is certainly too small a project for him.
Right.
So maybe we'll just leave those out for now and build them ourselves or do that as another project and propose this trail on Ridge.
Yeah, the problem with the benches is it has to go through us and then it has to go to the town council.
Right. That's another year.
Wow.
All right, anything else? Open time. Yes, Jonathan.
Okay, I have one thing for open time. I don't want to drag our meeting on too much longer, but I believe you all received the draft of the calendar that I sent out earlier.
Yep.
Susan Behrens from the Fairfax Open Space Committee has been the driver on that. She was at our last meeting, and she's been doing a lot of the content and design and writing and getting it to the materials to Kate. So this is actually, as it turns out, a 2-part project. There's the calendar itself, but it has an accompanying website that they're putting up. There's just too much content to get all on the calendar. They want to do some maps and actually quite a other. There's an online gallery with other additional photographs besides the ones on the calendar. Renee and I have both contributed to the online gallery. So she has asked me to ask you guys if we would help contribute to paying for the website for 4 months for this additional content. Let's see, it would be $23 a month for 4 months, and our share of it would be $46. And we can't have a vote because it's not on the agenda, but just to get a consensus that we're okay with helping support this new website. Is there people having a feeling about that?
Nancy has her hand up.
It said that there was going to be that exhibit, online exhibit, but that's not in the calendar how to access that.
That's because they don't have the URL yet.
Okay.
It'll go on there by the time it gets printed.
All right. And Jonathan, you saw the edit that Brian did on the calendar?
And there's going to be more. I'm going to rewrite the write-up about the San Anselmo Open Space Committee. That just went on today because she actually had something else in that space. And I felt there would be much better use of the real estate to have information about the committees, but it needs to be rewritten.
Nancy?
I would agree with that. It needs to mention Red Hill and
Yeah.
Memorial Ridge. And I had a couple of other suggestions about some typeface when they mention a specific animal. Some places it's got a typeface, some places it doesn't. So I can give those suggestions.
If people can review the draft PDF and then send me written comments, that would be most helpful.
Okay.
I don't want to take a lot of time now and go through it. And then once we get a final draft, then we'll really look at it. But if you have any thoughts, let me know and I'll pass them on for sure.
Renee, you had your hand up?
Oh, I was just going to give you some feedback right now, but
Yeah.
you know, I can do it. This one of the species is misidentified. The
Send me
peregrine
any
falcon.
errata or corrections.
Yeah, it says peregrine falcon should be a red-tailed hawk. Anyway,
Thank you.
I'll send you an email.
Anything else for open time?
Just to clarify, are people in general okay with the $46 for 4 months of the website? Okay, good.
So,
I'll put it on the agenda for an official vote the next time.
I also thought it was lovely, and thank you guys for the photographs.
Great pictures.
All right. All right. Set the date for next meeting. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
So the next meeting is going to be a special meeting on October the 8th, where we're going to address the
That's
proposed.
a special meeting. We're setting the meeting for the regular open space committee.
That would be the 21st.
Okay. That's the 21st at 7:30. And then Jonathan, you have the special meeting.
Correct.
You want to talk about that?
Well, we're having a special meeting to review a series of proposed mountain biking trails for Storage Park that's been presented by the MCBC, the Marin County Bicycle Coalition. Sean Condry asked for the Open Space Committee to do a review of this. So I'm going to be sending everybody with the agenda a copy of this proposal. It's actually a preferred alternative and 3 other possible mountain biking trails in the park. So that's what we'll be addressing. It'll be only that one topic, and I expect it'll probably be a fairly long discussion.
And it's public noticed. It's going to be a lengthy one. Yes, Renee?
So how come they get a special meeting? Why couldn't they just be part of our regular meeting?
Jonathan, you want to?
That was actually my call because I foresee this being quite a involved and lengthy discussion, and I think it would conflict with other agenda items we put on a regular meeting.
Yeah, no, Jonathan and I discussed it, and what I suggested as well is this is a big deal, and we wanted to ask the staff for a staff report. So we would have a staff report to review before we started the meeting. So that's, I don't know if that's been done. It sounds like it's been done.
It's not.
It's not.
Well,
Will it be forthcoming?
I think we need to have the staff report, and I think we should make it a condition of having this meeting. Otherwise, you know, it doesn't make any sense for us to have the meeting.
Well, it'll be the first of several meetings if we don't have a staff report.
No, I'm just saying that if we don't have a staff report, that we put off the meeting, that we table the meeting for another time. Because I think it's really important to have the staff report. And I don't know if Elise is on this call or not, but, you know, can we?
She's not.
I made the request to Elise about that.
Yeah. And when is the meeting?
October 7th.
7:30?
Yep.
Okay. And we need a quorum, so we need everybody to be there. And what day of the week is that?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay. And if there's nothing else?
Well, I didn't get an answer to my condition about the staff report. Doesn't it make sense?
This is open time. We're just discussing it. So the meeting is set. And the reason The reason Jonathan and I decided that to schedule a special meeting after this meeting was so we could hopefully have a staff report. And because it's going to probably be a lot of public interest and there's going to be a lot of public participation.
I understand that. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to suggest that we make it a condition that we have a staff report before we actually go forward with a meeting. That is, if we don't have a staff report, we need to table the meeting.
Well, that's something that would have to be raised then at the meeting because it's not an agenda item tonight. It's not nothing that we can vote on or do tonight. We're on open time, Renee. So if we have the special meeting and we do not have a staff report on hand, then that would be a motion to be considered at that time.
But you and Jonathan put this meeting on the calendar so you can also put conditions on this meeting. And I'm suggesting that you put that condition on the meeting because otherwise it doesn't make any sense for us to have this meeting.
We have a proposal.
It doesn't, it's not something that we need to vote on. I'm just saying, this is something I think that has to happen before we can really have a productive meeting to discuss this really important issue.
I've made the request for a staff report.
Okay. Well, it's up to you guys. I'm just making the suggestion. I obviously, we can't have a vote about this, but I'm asking you to, make that a condition of us having this meeting.
Well, the meeting's set and there is that condition does not exist. Nancy?
Well, I was just going to say, if people can talk to the people who would write the report, that I can see this being a much more circular meeting without that piece. I think that it would give it a little more focus. I mean, I would much prefer to have it, is what I'm saying.
I think it doesn't make any sense to have this meeting without it. That's my point I'm trying to make. Just like it's going to be circular, like Nancy's saying. It's not going to be grounded in a basis with a staff report because this is going to be a very contentious issue.
We discussed an archery proposal at Soares Park without a staff report.
There are not many archers, but there are a whole lot of bikers.
Well, I understand that. I mean, the fact is the meeting is on schedule.
Well, just to try to facilitate wrapping this up,
yeah.
Come what may, there will be, I would guarantee, plenty of information and background to give us a basis for a context to review this.
There's nothing to prevent us from canceling it if it's, 3 days notice, right?
We can cancel it, but it's already been some time since the request came through for us to do this, have a review meeting.
Well, I have a procedural question then. How could the committee, let's say I have an objection to this meeting going forward without a staff report. How can the Open Space Committee or me as a member of the committee make that suggestion or formally request this? Because it doesn't sound like I can do it in open time, and I don't have any kind of power to bring it up as an agenda item because I didn't know that was going to be conditioned. So how does this work? How can somebody object to something like that without, as a committee member or as a committee as a whole?
Well, I think you have just now. We've all heard it.
But formally, it's just.
Well, listen, we're taking a lot of time on something I don't think we really need to. I've made a request that there be a staff report. I think there's going to be. I don't know why there won't. So I don't think we need to really spend a whole lot of time and energy on it right now.
The proposal is a written proposal, so there is already documentation on what the Bike Coalition wants. That's been given to Public Works. Sean's already reviewed it, and it's been passed on to us. It's already in the works, Renee. I mean, and for Paul,
you're not contradicting what I'm saying. It's not. My question has to do with procedure. Okay. Okay. What happens if we don't have a staff report?
Then you ask to table the agenda, or you ask for a continuance at the meeting.
Okay.
Saying lack of a staff report, we were unable to move forward on this.
Okay.
And vote on it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That clarifies it for me. I appreciate it.
Hey, Jonathan,
Yeah.
I had a few thoughts. So I have not been involved with this, so I don't know anything specifically about it, but I think that there might be two ways that it would go. One is that the Bike Coalition, who wants this project to move forward, would provide a lot of information before the meeting so that the committee has a chance to review that and, you know, go up and look in the park and see whereabouts everything is proposed and have a lot of great feedback at that meeting. And whether that information from MCBC comes with a short staff report from Elise kind of presenting it or, you know, introducing it, that would be option one. Option two is there's no information provided before the meeting, and at the meeting, MCBC does a presentation and tells you all about this stuff. And at that point, it might be that the committee says, well, that's great, but we need to go out and make our site visits and to be able to give you good feedback. So this is a great first meeting, come back to a second meeting. So it's kind of incumbent on MCBC. If they want to move their project forward, they need to be a little more proactive with information. And I'll talk to Sean when he gets back from vacation and see what kind of information we have and what kind of presentation MCBC might be prepared to give that night. And we'll see. But I don't think they're just going to come and say, hey, we want to put a trail here.
No.
What's your thoughts on that? And everyone says, well, we need more information. So,
Scott, no, they've actually made a formal presentation. I mean, they have a document that they prepared. And I have a copy of that. I was going to send it out with the agenda for the next meeting. I could send it out sooner. Maybe I'll just do that to the committee.
Yeah, I think the more time that the committee has to you know, take a look at it and make site visits and really get into it, then that you guys will be able to give much better feedback.
Yeah, I agreed. It's pretty involved.
That's a good point, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, we have the proposal from the Bike Coalition, but we were Jonathan and I were asking town staff to prepare an independent staff report.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll check with Sean and Elise and see what their thoughts were on, you know, how much the town wanted to give our recommendation prior to your recommendation, because I would think at this point we'd, you know, kind of just pass the information on to you and get all of your feedback prior to us stating what we think should happen.
So just real quickly on that, what I think we might want to have some input on, some background from staff would be how this relates in terms of the Storage Park Master Plan. You know, anything at the park is governed by the adopted master plan. So we need to be assessing the compatibility there. There's other questions about the ability of the town to manage a project like this and to manage the use and costs and process vis-a-vis environmental review. So it'd be good to have that kind of basic information along with their presentation, I think. That's
Okay,
what
great.
I was
Yeah,
looking
I'll
for.
bring that back to Elise and to Sean.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
All right. I would like to adjourn the meeting unless somebody has a dying last wish.
dying.
Well, I promised Paul I would try to get these meetings done before 9, and I missed it by 4 minutes, so I'm sorry. But the meeting adjourned. Nice to see you, Henry.
Nice to see you guys too.
Everybody take care.
Thanks
Right.
for being patient with my questions.
Thanks.
Completely
I think it's just a foreshadowing of the next meeting.
All right, good night,
Good night,
guys.
all. Thanks for letting me listen in.